It was the year 1912, and the world was full of dreams. Science was rising, and new inventions were making life faster and brighter. In this time of hope and confidence, a ship was born. A ship so grand, so beautiful, and so strong people called it the Ship of Dreams. It was named the RMS Titanic. Built in Belfast, Ireland, the Titanic was the largest and most luxurious ship the world had ever seen. It had golden staircases, swimming pools, ballrooms, and private rooms that looked like royal palaces. It could carry more than 2,200 people. There were 3 classes, the richest in first class, middle-class travelers in second class, and poor workers and immigrants in third class, all together on one unforgettable journey. On April 10, 1912, the Titanic began its first voyage from Southampton, England, to New York City, USA. People were excited. Some were starting a new life in America. Some were enjoying luxury. Some were just visiting. As the ship moved across the Atlantic Ocean, passengers danced, played games, walked on the deck, and enjoyed food that felt like a 5-star hotel. The sea was calm. The skies were clear. But danger was ahead, silent, hidden, and cold. For 2 days, everything was perfect. But the Titanic had already received multiple iceberg warnings from nearby ships. Still, the ship continued at high speed, over 22 knots. The captain and owners believed Titanic was unsinkable. No lifeboat drills were done. And only 20 lifeboats were carried, enough for barely half of the people on board. People believed nothing could go wrong. That belief would soon cost lives. On the night of April 14, 1912, the temperature dropped. The sea was flat and black like a mirror. There was no moon, just stars above and silence below. At 11:40 p.m., a lookout in the crow's nest saw a dark shadow ahead. He rang the bell and shouted, "Iceberg, right ahead." The crew tried to turn the ship, but it was too late. The iceberg scraped the starboard side of the ship, tearing open its underbelly. Water began flooding into the lower compartments. At first, passengers felt only a slight shake. Some laughed. Some ignored it. But below the surface, the Titanic was bleeding. 5 compartments were filling with freezing water, and that meant the ship was doomed. Captain Edward Smith knew it. He gave the order, women and children to the lifeboat. But there was panic. There were not enough lifeboats. Some boats were lowered half empty. Others were rushed. Fathers were separated from families. Rich or poor, fear had no class. Some stayed calm. Some ran. Some prayed. The musicians of the ship continued to play, trying to bring peace to the chaos around them. In that moment of fear, music was their gift to the dying world. As the front of the Titanic sank deeper, the back rose higher into the air. Lights flickered. Screams grew louder. People jumped into the icy black water, hoping, crying, trying to live. At 2:20 a.m., just under 3 hours after hitting the iceberg, the Titanic split in 2. One part sank quickly. The other rose up, stood still for a moment, then vanished beneath the sea. The screams faded into silence. More than 1,500 people died that night. Some were swallowed by the sea. Most froze in the water. Only 705 people survived. They were rescued by a ship named the Carpathia, which arrived hours later. The survivors were in shock, cold, broken, and grieving. Many had lost family, friends, and everything they owned. When the news reached the world, people were stunned. How could such a modern ship simply disappear? Investigations were held in the UK and the USA. The truth came out. The ship was moving too fast. Iceberg warnings were ignored. There were not enough lifeboats. There were no drills. And worst of all, people believed the Titanic was unsinkable. That blind belief became the biggest tragedy. But from this disaster, the world learned important lessons. New laws were made. Ships had to carry enough lifeboats for all passengers. Lifeboat drills became mandatory. Radio rooms had to be staffed 24/7. And an international ice patrol was created to watch dangerous waters. The Titanic changed the way we travel forever. Yet even more powerful than the rules were the stories, real human stories. Stories of love, courage, sacrifice. A mother giving up her seat for her child. A husband and wife choosing to die together rather than be separated. A young steward helping people until the very end. The band playing Nearer My God to Thee as the ship sank. These were not just passengers. They were people with families, with dreams, with names that must never be forgotten. Today, the Titanic lies 12,500 feet below the surface of the North Atlantic Ocean. Cold, silent, and broken. But her story is still alive. Through books, films, museums, and memories, the Titanic continues to teach us something deep, that no matter how powerful we feel, nature is stronger. That no matter how rich or poor, life is fragile. And that in the face of death, kindness and courage still shine the brightest. The Titanic was more than a ship. It was a world, a floating city of dreams, laughter, tears, and unforgettable goodbyes. It may have sunk that night, but in our hearts, it will never be forgotten.